There are tons of videos out there telling you to add something to your soil. One of them, literally with over 1 million views, says to add charcoal to boost microbes. And yes, biochar can support microbes, but if it's not used the right way, it can backfire, raising your pH too high, disrupting balance, or nothing at all. And that can be the case with other amendments too, whether they're natural or not. If that worked for you, that's amazing, but after 10 plus years of gardening, either in solid red clay, raised beds, or smaller containers, I've learned something far simpler, something that's pretty much mistake-proof, and it's the thing that finally turned my struggling garden into a thriving one. Soil isn't just dirt, it's living. It's full of microbes. They're tiny microorganisms that fix nitrogen, decompose organic matter, protect plants from disease, and even help with drought resistance. But here's the thing most of us don't really think about. If your soil doesn't have enough food for the microbes, they die. So if you've ever had healthy soil one season and a sad, lifeless garden the next, pretty much nearly all of us have been there, this might be why. Today I'm sharing the one soil trick that finally brought my garden back to life. It doesn't require complicated soil science, it doesn't cost much, and it's something that you can start using right now, no matter your setup. And if you want help creating a small space garden that's productive and simple, my free training is linked below. It's crazy to think about how the health of our plants depends on something we can't even see, and to imagine that a tablespoon of soil probably contains billions of them. Here's a quick, simple breakdown of some of the things they do. They fix nitrogen from the air into a form that plants can actually use. They decompose organic matter, turning it into humus, which is a super stable form of organic matter that helps soil hold on to nutrients and moisture. It also improves the structure of the soil itself. This process is a big part of what makes soil healthy and productive over time. So microbes improve soil structure so roots can grow deeper. They protect plants from harmful pathogens. They boost stress resistance from heat, drought, and more. You've probably heard about these microbes before. Mycorrhizal fungi that boost water and phosphorus uptake, and rhizobia and legumes that convert nitrogen into a form that your plants can use. Microbes can even boost plant immunity and produce growth hormones. But if you don't feed them, they'll disappear, and so does all of that benefit. The best thing you can feed your soil with consistently is not fancy. You don't need expensive amendments. What your soil really needs is real organic matter and nutrients that keep microbes alive. That's where compost comes in, but stay tuned because it's not the best food. That doesn't mean stop adding it. Every time I plant something new, I add compost. I also side dress, even in containers and grow bags. Compost helps loosen the soil, hold moisture, and feed the living organisms in it. It might look and smell finished, but it's still breaking down slowly, and that's a good thing because it gives the microbes something to feed on over time. So it's not that it isn't food for them. It's just not the only or even the best thing that feeds microbes. Living roots from growing plants release nutrients into the soil that microbes love even more. But compost is amazing, easy, dependable, and something we can start with and then work into our routine. Other inputs like fish emulsion or compost tea, for example, are great for boosting plant growth, but they don't stick around in the soil. Compost does, but given the fact that it's not the best food for microbes, we need to be doing something else along with the compost, and you can probably kind of see where I'm going with it. Even the best soil mix still needs this one thing. When I moved from Michigan to South Carolina, I was so excited about the longer growing season here, and then I watched everything die in red clay. I took the Master Gardener program at Clemson, and I learned all the recommended amendments. All the information was so useful, and I learned a lot about the different growing zones here in South Carolina. But most of the amendments I learned about weren't organic friendly and not effective for the long term. Eventually, I switched to raised beds in my garden, and that changed everything. I finally had more control over the soil. For the past 10 years, I've ordered composted garden soil from a local business that I trust, and it's made with mushroom compost. Mushroom compost is great for most plants, but it can raise pH, so it's not the best for acidic soil-loving ones like blueberries. Anyway, for containers and grow bags, my mix is a little different than my raised beds with more potting soil, but the principle is the same. Even with the perfect recipe, if you don't feed your soil, it goes dead, and I have been there. That's why I say this all the time. Never leave your soil bare, and don't feel like you need to start dumping all kinds of amendments into it. Bare soil means starving microbes. At the very least, add mulch if you're not actively planting, but the best thing you can do is keep something growing. So the fish emulsion, compost tea, and wool pellets are examples of amendments that help plants thrive, and they do improve the soil, but again, there's the one thing that they can't do. Fertilizers feed your plants, which is very important so that their living roots can feed your soil, and healthy soil feeds your plants back. Please don't underestimate this. Roots feed microbes better than any fertilizer. Different plants release different nutrients from their roots in the soil for the microbes, attracting different microbes, which is why diversity is so powerful and important for healthy soil. The more microbes you have and the more different kinds of microbes you have, the healthier soil is going to be and the healthier your plants are. Intercropping, square foot gardening, and succession planting all support this. Even weeds are better than bare soil, although of course we don't want them taking over our garden. Perennials are probably the easiest way to keep your soil covered, because if you can keep something growing year-round, even just a few plants, you're doing your microbes a huge favor. Perennials go dormant in the winter for a lot of growing zones, but their roots still release nutrients even while they're dormant. And if you want an easy seasonal way to keep your soil growing and thriving without constant planting and maintenance, let's talk about one of my favorite strategies, which is cover cropping. Cover crops were what led me to my breakthrough moment and when I finally saw results and understood how to truly keep my soil alive and healthy. You don't need a big space or even a full garden bed to use this method. Cover crops are one of the most overlooked ways to keep your soil healthy, even in small gardens. People might think that they're only for farms or big homesteads, but I've used them in raised beds and in patches of open space, and my soil was never healthier, which I saw through my strong and healthy garden plants over time. Again, the whole idea is instead of leaving your soil bare, you grow something that feeds it, and cover crops do so many things at once. Their roots feed the microbes in the soil even if you're not growing your main food crops, number one, and we've talked about all the benefits of microbes. Cover crops help suppress weeds and they protect the soil surface. They prevent erosion and compaction, and they attract pollinators and beneficial insects, and they'll even break up pest cycles. And they add organic matter as they break down. In my own garden, my favorite combo is a mix of oats, peas, and vetch that I plant in the fall. But the key is to plant early enough so that they get established but not go to seed before it gets cold. Oats and peas die off in the winter here, and they decompose pretty quickly in the spring. Vetch is one of my favorites, and it's really cold hardy, so sometimes it even survives for a lot of the winter here in my zone, but it also comes back stronger in early spring, so tons of strong roots there. And then I just mow it down or chop and drop it when it flowers before it goes to seed, and then I gently work it into the soil. I don't necessarily till it because I try not to disturb the soil, but I don't stress about it either. I pretty much just let the roots and the decomposition in this whole process do the heavy lifting for me. You can find cover crop seeds affordably at most seed companies, and you'll find varieties that work with your climate and your goals. There are quite a few different options. Some of my favorite small space friendly ones are oats because they're fast growing and they're easy to kill back in the winter. Peas add nitrogen, they're great in cover crop mixes. Vetch is cold hardy, like I said before, and it's also nitrogen fixing, and I like how it grows back in late winter into spring here. Clover is great for containers and raised beds, and pollinators absolutely love it when it starts to flower. Even if you only have one or two small beds, planting a cover crop for the off-season keeps your soil alive. But perfection is not the goal here. Right now in the heat of summer, I do have a few bare spots in my garden too, and that's okay. But knowing what's most effective and sustainable helps us make decisions when we're ready. You don't have to do it all at once, but when you understand that soil is alive and that it needs to stay alive, it changes how you garden and you can make simple shifts. So here's what it really comes down to. You don't need a fancy soil hack, you just need to keep your soil alive, and that means feeding it with compost and growing something in it as often as possible by using simple strategies like cover crops, perennials, and diverse planting to support it. Even if you're working with clay or containers or just a few grow bags, you can absolutely build healthy, thriving soil that keeps working for you season after season. If you want help creating a small space garden that actually fits your life and feeds your family, I've got a free training that walks you through the exact steps I've taken to do that, especially after being totally overwhelmed and burned out. You'll find that linked for you below. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this helped you feel more confident about what's happening in your soil, and I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Have you tried any of these strategies, and which ones have worked out for you? I'll see you in the next one.